Welcome to Chapter 2. It's all about menus, menus, menus. The most important features of your new camcorder can be controlled using the menu system. As we told you in the first chapter, you'll find the menu button on your camcorder, and chances are it looks like one of these displayed on the screen. Turning your camcorder on to the shooting mode will then allow you to turn on the menus by pressing the menu button. Depending on how complicated your camcorder is, will determine how many menus you have. But once again, every camcorder will have some pretty similar menu items. I recommend you take a look at your menus and your manual so that you can familiarize yourself with them. But let's take a look at some of the items you might find, and I'll show you how making some changes to those settings can make a difference. Exposure. Many camcorders will have an exposure setting. This allows you to manually adjust the brightness of your picture. What it does, in fact, is much like a still camera. It opens up the lens to a brighter or more open setting, allowing more light into your picture. Almost always, you'll use the camera in an automatic exposure setting because the camera will read the most appropriate exposure setting for the situation you're in. You might want to change it though if you're shooting a subject that has a lot of backlight, meaning the light is behind your subject, which might appear dark as it does in this scene. In most cases though, we're going to recommend leaving the camera in auto exposure, and then reposition the camera or the subject to have the light and the camera pointing at your subject. It'll give you a more pleasing image. But if you must use the light behind your subject and want to expose for your subject, this is the way to do it. Gain. More often than not, you'll find yourself shooting in a darker situation where you need as much light as possible. One of the ways to do this is using the gain control found on your camera. What the gain control does is allow you to adjust the camera's sensitivity to light while in video mode. Much like the days of film cameras, when you used a film that was more sensitive to light, the grain in the picture looked more pronounced. Well, in the video world, you have cameras that will allow you to increase the gain, like on this JVC camera, which allows you to turn it on and adjust it up and down. You'll find that on video it looks more like digital noise though. More expensive cameras will allow you to choose the sensitivity by a fixed amount, usually measured in dB or noise. The typical settings are to increase it by 3 dB, 9 dB, and sometimes you can even go up to something like 18 dB. As you can see here, when we turn the gain up in a dark scene, it does give us more visual information, but it also gives you a noisier image. The key in a situation like this is to use as little gain as possible and still get the recording. It's still a good idea though to use it when you need as much sensitivity to light to capture the scene. Now, on a similar subject, some camcorders come with a special night shot feature. It's demonstrated here. You'll see that the camera changes to record the video with this green tint. It's a night vision look, like you'll see on television or on night vision goggles or something, but it's not real infrared. It's a cool effect though, and I'd use it as an effect in the videos that I shoot. The best solution to not having enough light is to use on-camera lighting. Some camcorders will have the option of turning on a small built-in video light, which will give you a little more light when shooting things close up. Here's our model being shot with this small light from this JVC camera. If your camcorder doesn't have this feature or it's not bright enough, you can consider adding an accessory light available from your local dealer. This one provides additional light powered by regular batteries. It's also LED lighting technology, so it provides a bright light and it uses little power. Check with your dealer to see what video light would work best in your shooting situations. Shutter speeds. Some camcorders will have the option to change the shutter speed of the camera. The default setting is 1/60th of a second, but on some camcorders you can select from a slower speed or even faster speeds. Let's take a look at what those changes can mean to your images. This is our control shot at the default 1/60th of a second. This provides a pleasing view of the scene and is the rate you will see most video is recorded at. It presents the action in a scene pretty clearly. Now, if we slow this down to just 1/15 of a second, you can see the effect. Everything is blurry, and it's not a pleasing video. I've used this shutter speed in the past when shooting at night to capture the lights and to create a lot of movement. It works really cool if you shoot lights and use it as a background to titles and things, but I'm not sure it works as a regular shooting speed. Now I've selected a faster shutter speed. Notice how the motion is choppy and not pleasing to the eye. What this does work with is when you're shooting fast action like sports or a golf swing, and you want to slow down to look at it or perhaps even use a single frame. Here's the shot in slow-mo in comparison to a shot recorded at the default 1/60th of a second and slowed down. It looks sharper and clearer using a faster shutter speed. Once again, I'd use this as an effect rather than for regular shooting. I always recommend using 1/60th of a second for all shooting unless you're looking for an effect. Frame rates. Some of today's camcorders, most notably the high-definition camcorders, can give you the choice of selecting from different frame rates. The purpose of this is to allow you to change the look of your video into a more film-like appearance. Here's an example. Both of these shots were done using the same camcorder. The one on the right is recorded at 29.97 frames per second, which is the usual frame rate for television. The other shot on the left has been recorded at 24 frames per second. You'll notice the 24 frame per second pans and zooms look a little different, and it is perhaps a little more film-like in its appearance. If your camcorder has this feature, we recommend you experiment with it to see if you prefer the look over a more traditional video look. If your camera has this feature, look in your menu system under frame rates or picture or, well, check the manual to see what they call it.